Yes, the 2010 to 2020 decade. So, what is its zeitgeist? First of all, we should probably have a coherent definition of a zeitgeist. And Google defines it as the defining spirit or mood of a particular period of history as shown by the ideas and beliefs of the time. So literally, a zeitgeist is what defines a period of time. So, what will be the zeitgeist of the 2010 to 2020 decade? Now there's two ways I decided to look at this. I wanted to look at it in what are the ways that it stands out, and what are the ways that it doesn't, because a bit of both, but there's a lot more for what doesn't stand out. So let's go with that first. What defines this decade? A lot of it has to do with just a lack of originality. Let's take the at least one of the most successful companies in the history of the world, Disney. Let me just go ahead and round off some things for you. Jungle Book, Mulan, Little Mermaid, Star Wars. Those are just a couple of examples of properties that Disney are either making sequels to, reboots to, or remakes to. I think besides Frozen, maybe something else is in there. Anyway, everything that they've been pumping out has been sequels, remakes, or reboots. Okay, let's take a slightly more real-world example here. Okay, so take a look at this Bridal Chucky Ultimate Chucky and Tiffany. This is a 2-pack of action figures that I happen to have in my possession. If we go to their Amazon page, we will find that these two were released in 2019. Now, why is that significant? Well, Child's Play has been a thing since 1988. This is what I'm talking about. It's all just nostalgia and pandering. Another case in point, The Rise of Skywalker, the newest Skywalker saga Star Wars movie, came out last year in December. And Star Wars has actually been going on since 1977. Want to go into other avenues of pop culture? Let's take music. The type of music, at least that I see all the time, that has seemed to have dominated the mainstream is rap. And a lot of it sounds similar. Not necessarily to what we got in the 90s. But a lot of it these days sounds similar to each other. If I were to play one rap song, if I were to play another rap song by a different person, that you probably wouldn't even be able to tell it's a different song. A lot of these rap songs use the same instruments. In the Streaming Kills Reynolds essay, there was a line in there that I think would make a great segue to some of the things that are unique about this decade. This is a decade that broke pop culture. One of the main things about pop culture to me is feedback. That sounds a little bit abrupt, but I'm going somewhere with this, trust me. Now, these days, if you look at the controversy at, let's say Ghostbusters 2016. Now, most people didn't like it because instead of attempting to improve on the original, instead a lot of its marketing was just based on the fact that it was female-oriented. You can't criticize movies anymore. We've seen it with Captain Marvel. We've seen it with Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. We saw it with the aforementioned Ghostbusters. And we've seen it with a lot more movies than just those. But moving on from that. Another thing that unfortunately is going to be long remembered with this decade are the recessions. Now, the 2008 economic recession, we were just getting out of when 2010 came around. But 2020 comes around, and look at that, we're in another economic recession. Why? Because of the coronavirus. But before I end this, I think it'd be helpful to leave on a brighter note. One thing that I think definitely cannot be understated was the importance of Barack Obama's presidency. That man lasted for the maximum amount that you could say, 2 terms. And he was the first African American president in history. Barack Obama being president was a milestone because before him, every single president, and Donald Trump after him, they're all Caucasian. So to see those who were once slaves finally rise up, and especially now in a time where most things in pop culture are related or heavily borrowed from elements from the past, I think that's one of the brightest notes I would think that's one of the brightest things that people are going to be talking about when it comes to the 2010s to the 2020s.